Welcome to Law Talk Today, a series devoted to bringing you informative and educational programs focused on issues of law, government, and community. Hello, and welcome to Law Talk Today. I'm Dan Agatino, your host. Joining us in studio today is Mark Gruber of the law firm of Gruber, Colabella, Liuzza, and Williams. Mark, thanks so much for coming in.
Great to be here.
So you have expertise in divorce, and I'd like to spend this show just examining some of the principles and basic foundations of divorce and talking with our audience about the process and how it works.
Well, that's, my expertise is debatable, but I've been doing it for a long time, Dan.
What would you like to say as soon as someone comes in to discuss divorce and say, here's the one thing that I want to start with?
Well, when people go to a lawyer, they've been thinking about divorce for 6 weeks, 6 months, sometimes years. And it's a big step. They're afraid. They're afraid they might lose their children. They might lose their home. They might have to relocate. And they have a lot of pent-up frustration, and so I try to put them at ease. And I tell them, I'm going to explain everything you need to know about divorce, and then I'm going to tell you how I would approach it, and don't worry, we're going to get you through this process. I try to put them at ease because they're just nervous and jerky and afraid. One way
they're put at ease is with your background. Do you share with them your extensive background in this field? And tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I don't think I share. I think they know that before they come see me because they can go to my website and, I'm in a phone book and, and they know that. But I've been practicing law for 33 years. I started out as a general practitioner and I did everything, criminal trials and personal injury. But for some odd reason, I had a liking for divorce and I did okay at it. And so other lawyers started sending me divorce cases, and next thing I knew, I was the kind of the go-to guy up in, Sussex and parts of Morris County. I guess I developed that kind of a reputation, but it's kind of a cool area of the law to be in because I get to help people through a very rough time in their lives, and so that's kind of, and I think it shows when I meet with my clients.
When you meet with them, do you share with them some of your expertise outside the law in the sense of, like, what are the statistics for divorce? People come in and they say, 1 out of every two.
Yeah, well, you hear that. You hear that it's 1 out of every 2.
Right.
But that's a misleading statistic. I think that statistic means that of every new marriage in a year, okay, take that number and half of those get divorced. But the number of new marriages in a year is only a small fraction of the total marriages in the population.
I see.
So it's not 50%, it's only 50%, the number representing 50% of the new marriages in a given year. It's certainly a lot less than that. And,
so you can play with the statistics.
Absolutely.
Tell us, if somebody wants to get a divorce, there are grounds for getting a divorce, right?
Right.
You have to have a cause of action.
Right.
What are some of the causes?
Well, New Jersey is, there's 2 ways. One is no fault. New Jersey is a no-fault state. No fault means that you have to be separated, living in separate homes for 18 months or longer, and then you file on no fault, no other questions asked. The other way is by filing on fault grounds, and there are a number of fault grounds that you can just imagine, like adultery, habitual drunkenness, extreme cruelty, constructive desertion, which is sexual desertion for a year. There is deviant sexual behavior, institutionalization, and we have a new fault ground now, which is called irreconcilable differences. And that's what most people are filing under these days. And all you have to do is allege that in the last 6 months, there's been irreconcilable differences and there's no reasonable prospect of reconciliation. In that way, you don't have to sling mud on all the other fault grounds. And you can just imagine on the extreme mental cruelty grounds, that is one of the fault grounds, people would write books, and it was almost like a gestalt, almost like a therapy session when you read these complaints. And every time the one spouse looked at the other the wrong way and bruised their egos or didn't treat them properly, most of that stuff is out. And what I tell clients when they come in now is fault is no longer a factor in divorce in New Jersey. It doesn't affect child support. It doesn't affect custody, alimony, or property division. So there's not really a need to sling mud and go through the fault ground. So that's why most people are using irreconcilable differences.
Let's explore this for a minute. You're saying that if I'm found to be of fault in any one of those categories you shared, it's not going to affect how much I'm paying or receiving in alimony?
Absolutely not, Dan.
It's not going to affect child support?
Nope.
So there may be no need to go through all of this accusations on the other side. And
well, that's what clients, people coming in for a divorce have a difficult time understanding that.
Mm-hmm.
My spouse is cheating on me, right? Why should I have to pay support, right?
Right.
Why do I have to give up my house? You know, but the Supreme Court of New Jersey has said it's not a factor. Unless it's really egregious, like an attempted murder or something of that nature,
right,
then it can go to that extent.
What if someone said they have not had the benefit of your expertise, and they come up with these ideas and they say, I know that he or she is cheating, I'm going to tape them, I'm going to access their email, I am going to go through all of these procedures to make sure that I catch them.
Right.
Is that legal?
Under certain circumstances, yes, but under most circumstances, no. Frequently, I have clients come in clutching videotapes or audio tapes or copies of emails that they've intercepted. And I explain to them that you can't violate the wiretap statutes. There's a federal and there's a state wiretap statute. And what that means is that if there is one person here and another person here communicating, whether it's by telephone, by computer, by email, if you intercept that live communication, it's a wiretap violation, and it could be 5 to 10 years, $10,000 in fines, depending upon
5 to 10 years jail.
Jail,
right? You're going to prison.
Absolutely, and civil damages. And so I tell them, stop doing that. You know, you can't do that. And I explain to them that fault is not a factor, so it doesn't matter. But you know, the people that do that, they just want to know. Mm-hmm. So maybe there's a need for them to know personally, psychologically, but in divorce courts, it's not needed.
You said two key words, personally and psychologically, and you're a lawyer, not a therapist, but inevitably, I suspect, you have to be a little bit of a therapist, or you have to share and take personally, though it's your 1,000th case, that for them it's their real difficult time in life.
Sure, I think that's why they sometimes call lawyers counselors.
Okay.
And especially in the area of divorce. I mean, it's very highly emotional, it's highly charged, and it's people with a high degree of anxiety. I mean, you know, most of us would know that when you have a fight with your significant other or your spouse, your day just doesn't go as normal, right?
Right.
Your world comes tumbling down on you, and it's depressing, and it's a difficult time in people's lives. It's a very difficult time. I see good people at their worst going through divorces, and I have to try to keep them on a steady path and cheer them up and show them that there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
So let's talk about that for 1 minute, that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. There's a concept, it's called mood-dependent memory. It means you're in a bad mood, you're only going to think negative memories. You're going to remember the times you had the fights, you're going to remember all these bad things.
Sure.
How do you get someone who's really upset, comes to you in tears, comes with the videotapes, comes with the audio tapes, wants to get all this out, and you try and say, let's get through this in the best way possible?
Well, if they're really in a bad way, I will recommend them to a therapist or a counselor.
Okay.
And there's nothing wrong with that because it's a tough time to get through. And they're not thinking intellectually, they're thinking emotionally. Okay? And I tell clients all the time, relax. At one point or another, you loved this person and you had good times. Remember those. Okay? The bad times you're having right now, you're going to get through and you're going to move on with your life. And I try to keep them going.
And someone who comes in and they say, Mark, you don't know these. Let me tell you, because this person has caused me emotional distress. This